Good morning. I am Willie Bragg, the host of the Willie Bragg Show, and I'm here to share my commentary of, of for human rights around the world, not just here in the United States or even in the West, but around the world. And that's why I decided to discuss something that just came to my attention. And on December 3rd, presumably December 3rd, I'm thinking December 3rd, several days ago, about a week ago, in Kiev, which is the capital of the Ukraine, a gay bar was vandalized and attacked by a group of neo-Nazis. And what I'm going to do, I want to explain. Going to explain about the neo-Nazis first. And the thing about it is, I believe they're called Avaz Battalion, and they are an extreme right wing, or kind of like a quasi paramilitary neo Nazi group of nationalists from the UK, and they're motivated by what most white nationalist groups are motivated by: old fashioned racism, skin color prejudice, um, bigotry against the Jewish people. Because a lot of these people, especially in places like the Ukraine, blame the Jews for bringing Bolshevism to Russia and to what became the Soviet Union, including the 16 Soviet republics for 70 years. Um, and of course, what comes in that wrapper with racism and anti-Semitism is usually cloaked with old-fashioned homophobia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video um, about the events that happened, and I will share a few more words afterwards, as soon as I get that link taken care of. There we go. Let's see here. And as I said, I'll share a few words. Let me. Right here.
Nazi violence toward LGBTQ plus in the Ukraine. Watch this. A Ukrainian gay bar was attacked overnight by neo-Nazis in a brazen attempt to terrorize local LGBTQ people. A dozen suspects have been apprehended after video caught them on tape tearing the place up. Hivliv Bar in Kiev was swarmed by the Nazis, who shouted "white power" and "death to the faggots" during the rampage. The group of approximately 20 men quickly overpowered security guards outside the establishment. The guards retreated inside, keeping the attackers out. The men destroyed the outside area before fleeing. Video taken from inside the establishment that we showed just now shows terrified patrons and staff barricading the doors as the neo-Nazis smash windows. Security footage taken outside the bar, which we're showing right now, shows the men swarming into the area and turning it into rubble. This is terrifying, and that there's so much violence in that crowd.
Yeah, and it's that country is really going through it right now. We've reported on it many times here, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. It seems to be getting much worse, which is very alarming.
I'm wondering what was the police response like? I mean, I didn't see anything about that in the story. I mean, did they eventually come?
Well, the people ran off, and the story did say about a dozen people have been apprehended. Ukraine's just a mess right now, like you said, and Russia is now lining up their military at the borders to invade. This is not a good time for the people of Ukraine to be fighting each other, especially attacking any member of the community is terrible. So,
and you think there's got to be some kind of sponsor or someone behind it to make even more chaos? I wouldn't put it past the Russians to just find more reasons for people to be divisive and push that envelope so that there's so much internal strife.
And it really just speaks of what's going on in the world in general against our community. That's what scares me too, because we're on the precipice of it in this country as well. I'm maybe not that alarming, but it's a scary time.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole.
Okay, that was a very short video, concise and to the point, but I wanted to share my personal words about the situation and as it relates to tension that's going on between the Ukraine and Russia and Russia and the United States. Well, Crimea, there is a crisis right now. Crimea is taking place in the last decade, not necessarily related to the events of what happened about a week ago, but and the thing about it is that the Crimean Peninsula, which basically is Russia's access into the Black Sea, because Russia doesn't have that many ports, warm ports available. I mean, if you look at the geography of Russia, I mean, they really have a tough time getting around. And I'm not necessarily even taking a side between Russia and the Ukraine. I'm just explaining the situation there. And so Vladimir Putin, who is the premier of Russia, not necessarily a nice guy. I would say he's authoritarian, right wing. I would not call him a neo-Nazi or anything like that. But I mean, he's not exactly my idea of somebody I would want ruling a country. But I don't lose sleep at night over Vladimir Putin, like a lot of liberals tend to with regard to what they call Russiagate. I actually am one of the people on the left that dismiss Russiagate as a general rule. I just do. There's no basis for it. That's the Democratic Party's version of QAnon. Republicans got QAnon. Democrats got Russiagate. And that's the way I see it. Now, in the Ukraine, however, there are actual neo-Nazis in the government, and there is a large cultural influence for neo-Nazi organizations. Right now, the group Avaz Battalion is like the primary organization for white nationalist neo-Nazi mobilizing over there. And what is ironic is during the Obama administration, during the Obama administration, during the Trump administration, and even now under Biden, that there is sympathy for the Ukraine. Now, I am not out here to vilify people from the Ukraine as a general rule. I mean, they have the misfortune of having some of these characters in their government. And I'm not even necessarily calling for the U.S. to intervene. In fact, I am against U.S. intervention anywhere in this world right now. We have our own economic problems. We have COVID. We have a lot of things that we need to remedy here in the United States before we get involved with other people's problems abroad in the world. So think about it is, and you know, I mean, situation in Ukraine is terrible for the LGBTQ community. It's not great in Russia either. In fact, Russia has an atrocious record on treatment of the LGBTQ community as well. Now, you compare that to the United States. The United States has made improvements. They're not perfect. There's not absolute equality yet. But you compare the year 2021 to the year, I don't know, 1981, when the AIDS epidemic came out, there was growing, what I kind of looking back, I think there was growing acceptance in the 70s for the LGBTQ community, or back then it was broadly saying gay and lesbian rights. As a blanket or a broad term to describe the LGBTQ community. And as the AIDS crisis and the resurgence of the Christian right, the evangelicals gaining a lot of political influence, the attitudes for the LGBTQ community started to scale back a whole lot. But by the 1990s, the LGBTQ community started to gain traction and gain acceptance. There were a lot of drawbacks because, as I said, cultural conservatives here in the United States trying to exacerbate the culture war were trying to do everything they could to stop. Simply to stop the LGBTQ community from having equal rights. There was an actual debate. There was an actual debate whether individuals who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, or whatever, should they have equal rights to everybody else in society? And there was a time where these individuals would be attacked here in the United States, and the people would be arrested that did the attacks, and judges would be giving them light sentences or suspending them or putting them on probation because the victim was a member of the LGBTQ community. Businesses and establishments had a right at one time in most places to say, get the hell out of here. We don't want your kind in here. And we're talking about, it was a time where if somebody was found out that they were minding their own business, they kept it to themselves, and they tried to keep it to themselves and not bothering anybody. Somebody found out they were fired from their jobs, and of course, the situation with marital equality, which got remedied in the year 2015 when the Supreme Court said that you cannot ban marriage between two adults regardless of their gender. And so there's been improvements made here in the United States. And even many on the right wing in this country realize that the culture war, they have lost it, and they are getting on with their lives with other issues. And there is, even in the Republican Party, there's a lot of folks who are like, well, I guess I have to live with it. Some of them just begrudgingly living with it, and they focus on other things. And and honestly, for those who are critics of equality, it ain't that big a deal. Let the LGBTQ community exist and let them live with equality and respect. Let them have equal rights like everybody else. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. I promise you. And nobody's out there to sit there and to put you in jail because you're going, ew. If you want to go, ew, that is your right to go, ew. But you know what? They have a right to exist and live under equality under the law. And not just the United States, but in the West, as a general rule, they have made tremendous strides and improvements. There are still some Western countries that are a little bit behind, but as I said, there's been genuine improvements made. Contrast that with places like Uganda, where there was a bill. I'm not sure if it became law, but there was a big bill in their legislature about a decade ago to grant capital punishment for homosexuality. So, and there are several countries in the world that actually being gay is a crime punishable by death. Middle East being probably one of the worst examples in the world. Saudi Arabia, Iran, places like that. ISIS, they execute the LGBTQ community and everything. Here in the United States, people who go as far as what people would go to as far as violence in the Middle East against the LGBTQ community would be a handful of white nationalists here in the United States, or groups like the Westboro Baptist Church of Topeka, Kansas, that goes around protesting at funerals of veterans coming back from the Middle East in body bags, or people who died of AIDS celebrating their deaths. So, but anyway, I'm kind of meandering as I normally do because I'm a long-winded individual. But the point I'm trying to make is that things are not looking good for the LGBTQ community in the Ukraine, and it's a sad thing to see. And I hope that with what's going on between Ukraine and Russia can get resolved peacefully as far as borders disputes and and things like that happening. And I also hope that the LGBTQ community within Russia and the LGBTQ community within the Ukraine are given their freedom to live with equality under the law, and that the neo-Nazi movement will be defeated in Ukraine. It's sad that that's reared its ugly head, and society around the world needs to be careful about rising hardcore nationalist movement like Avaz Battalion within Russia, and people in here in the United States affiliated with the alt right. They have their freedom of speech here, and would never take that away from them, but they do not have a right to impose harm on other groups that they hate. And that's what it comes right down to. So, anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say right now. If you like what you heard, press like. If you and comment any ways you disagree. We can have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are all the muckrakers of our time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that that notification bell. And until next time, I am Willie Bragg, host of the Willie Bragg Show, Class Struggle. And as part of the theme in this video, solidarity and equality for the LGBTQ community. Because they're human beings too. And I will conclude with a goodbye to you all. See you later.